Go Loud presents the Talking Bollox podcast.
What you waiting for? Put your back in it. Just a little more. Throw your weight in it now. Tell your body you're ten. Walk it hard and long. When you finish that,
The hip knocker.
go down, go down, go down. Come up.
Hello, this is the Talking Bollox podcast brought to you by Go Loud, the home of Irish podcasts. Download the Go Loud app wherever you get your apps, and don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe and comment wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is episode 56. It's me, COB,
It's me, Tardy Flower.
and today we're joined by...
AOH1. just giving you my password. No, Ardal O'Hanlon is my name.
Ardal, how are you, pal?
Just giving you my password.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. Just forget you heard that. No, I'm good. I'm well, you know, relatively speaking, I'm grand. Yeah.
Yeah, do you do many podcasts?
I try to avoid them, to be honest with you. I only do the ones I like. I'm a shy person by nature, so I don't. You
couldn't help.
you have your work cut out today.
Yeah, they're coming in here, Lord, and shouting
Yeah,
and all.
yeah. No, I'm curious about them more than anything. You know,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to come up, really.
Yeah, and definitely not with this podcast
Yeah.
anyways. So just before we get started, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, CBD Ireland. Give the lads a shout on cbdireland.ie. They have stores in Cork and Waterford and one in Dublin coming soon. They have the best products around, CBD coffee, oils and chocolates, and you get 25% off using the code Talking Bollox.
That was impressive.
Wasn't it? One take.
The one take, fella. I love it.
But
It'll be the RTE News next.
yeah,
Imagine.
I'm telling you.
We'd look fresh, wouldn't we?
we'll be on the late one day. Yeah, for sure. Like as Delbo used to say, this time next year we'll be millionaires, isn't it?
That's right. You'll be wearing tuxes.
Yeah, so this is something I wanted to get into before. I touched on it over the weekend that there's a perception problem with this podcast, Ardal, right? People see two fellas in tracksuits, they probably say, "Jeez, I wonder what they're going to talk about," and then they see the guests we have on, and then they see the name Bollox in the title. Apparently, that's a big hindrance to the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Well,
And-
it's like it's not the reason why I like the podcast, but it literally, and I'm not just saying this, it is probably my favorite word. Like not I don't even mean favorite word. It's probably the word I use the most.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we use that to form the name of the podcast,
Yeah.
because it's what we all do the best. We all talk bollocks,
Yeah.
no matter who it is. And then when people look at the guests we have boxers on, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to talk about boxing.
Right.
We have comedians on, we're not going to just talk about comedy. We talk about a range of topics, personal experiences, and topics that really hit home with us and with our listeners and are suggested to us. And we just feel like when we started this, we wanted to change perception. And I thought we were doing that. But then on a corporate level, we're getting the door closed in our face. So I just thought it was a bit short-handed. It's 2022. I thought places are supposed to be more progressive and accepting these days.
It's a Stone Age mentality, really.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur mentality, yeah. It's
Yeah.
basically. So that's just something I wanted to grab off my chest, you know. But look, we'll still do what we'll do.
Well, if it's worth anything, like the reason why I like what you do is because it's an absolute celebration of life generally.
Yeah.
But it's a celebration of your own lives and your background, and you have brilliant guests on who represent that world as well. But you also have guests from beyond that world.
Yeah.
No, it's an Ardal anyway. So, we'll jump into the zingers then, yeah?
Yeah.
So, Ardal, we do a thing called zingers, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like an either or
Right.
a would you rather,
Right.
or something along them lines.
You've listened to the podcast before.
have, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
would have noticed us doing one or two of these.
yeah.
So the ones from last week, we're at our wits end with them as well, Ardal. Yeah, we're struggling now. And I
Straight
don't
from the
have
barrel.
one this week either, yeah?
Yeah.
So the ones from last week were, see when you're eating like a tub of celebrations or heroes or anything like that, when you eat a sweet, do you put the wrapper back in the box or do you go to the bin and put it in the bin?
Very
Now, be honest.
controversial subject, yeah.
Isn't it?
I put them back in the box, and
Lads, I
and
swear to God. I thought I knew you, Terence, and then you told me you do this
Well, I
last
think
week.
I'm trying to be tidy, like whereas you know
it's
like
too much hassle, Ardal.
Yeah.
Getting up, going to the bin, coming back into another sweet, back to the bin.
exactly
You know what I mean?
one trip to the bin a day is enough.
Yeah,
You'd be
but
fit
like,
as a fiddle.
could you not just like throw them all aside and then at least you know when you open the box, all you're getting is sweets. You're not getting like fucking wrappers and
No. Everything has to go in. And it's not just the wrappers I put in the box. It's all the remains of the dinner as well.
Everything goes in there, yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm all about convenience and like reducing the amount of effort you have to make in a day. So
Yeah.
like that absolutely fits in with my whole like schedule
Yeah.
for the
That's
day.
one of those. Yeah, work smart, not
Yeah,
hard,
that's-
isn't
that's
it?
my
Yeah.
motto,
All
yeah.
the rubbish goes into
Yeah.
into that box.
And then that just goes into
It's
the
very
bin.
useful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. One trip.
Opening the
My
box for
wife
the
has a-
Galaxy and there's
yeah.
bleeding yesterday's dinner, isn't it?
My wife has a rule like in the house. So like anyone who's gone upstairs, she stops them.
Yeah.
And she gets them to bring something up.
My man's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be load of stuff on the stairs, and it's for whoever goes up the stairs has to bring all that
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
up.
yeah. Stop! Hey, bring
Yeah.
that basket up and that. You know.
Yeah. Load of washing folded on
Yeah,
the end of the
yeah.
stairs. Bring that up, and you're like, "Are you for real?" And then if everybody's upstairs, there'll be more.
Yeah.
And if everything's on the stairs and everybody's
Yeah.
upstairs, just killing.
There's whole days I wouldn't even come downstairs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have to do it.
going on a protest in the bed, like John Lennon saying in bed all day.
Yeah. You could do worse. Like, anyway, that's another philosophical point.
So the results from the Zinger article, yeah?
Yeah.
28% said they leave them in. I think they're lawyers.
Yeah.
And 72% said they go to the bin with them. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think that 72% of people trying to portray that they're generous and
Yeah.
they're considerate. They're not
But you
the
see,
lawyers.
of course not, because normally you're only eating them like when you're sitting in front of the telly for hour after hour after
Yeah.
hour, and you might have a few drinks with you by this stage.
Yeah.
So there's just no way people are budging.
Yeah.
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
So that's that one done. And then the other one was, do you prefer heroes or celebrations?
Like, I'd be hard pressed to tell you which is which now. Like,
Do you know what? I'm the exact same.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Calvin will tell you. every
whichever one the
single thing.
crunchies are in.
That's the celebrations.
Right.
No, it's not. It's the heroes because Crunchy is Cadbury's, yeah.
Right. So definitely crunchies, because like that is my go-to.
That's
Out of
our
every
go-to.
bar in the world,
Out
that's
of
your
every bar
favourite?
in the world, crunchies. Yeah.
What's your favourite packet of crisps?
My favorite packet of crisps is I suppose salt and vinegar. Yeah, salt and vinegar.
Anything salt and
do I
vinegar?
need to need a brand name?
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll press you for that.
Yeah, it's the Kyo's.
Very posh.
Very posh.
Very
lad.
posh. You have to
Oh, really?
remortgage, I have to buy them.
Did I say the wrong thing? I think. Well, I only get one packet a year.
Yeah.
So, I treat myself. They're probably my favorite. Salt and vinegar. Yeah.
Salt and vinegar Kyo's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I
There's a good crunch to them, and they're
Yeah.
good thickness.
Come here, Kyo's are lovely.
Good
they're
thickness.
Whopper, but they're,
So
they're
when
very
you
expensive.
say when you say they're expensive, like all the other crisps are so thin. Like, how many packets of thin crisps would you need to get one packet of Kyo's crisps?
Do you know what he's right with the ratio to
Like
air?
from-
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
yeah. we're gonna have to do like the area of a packet of crisps and
Yeah.
the volume of
Yeah.
a packet of crisps
Yeah.
and all.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
I know when you see a packet of Kyo's, they're usually about 4 something,
Yeah.
and a bleeding packet of potatoes about
But
1
like-
something, and you're like, right, we'll take them. Then.
I like, honestly, you mentioned crisps there. Like, that is, I hate to use the word, but it's triggering for me. Like, I try to eat healthy, and I try to, I'm try my best, but I really have a weakness for crisps. Like, it is the one thing, I just the rustle of the bag,
Yeah.
anything at all, and I'm just gone. Like, I'm like a dog, or
Yeah.
when it hears a tin of food being opened.
Yeah,
So God, I just love them.
yeah, a good crisp sambo as
And
well.
I beg my wife not to bring them into the house because, and I won't eat them for weeks. I won't buy them myself, but they're always in the house.
Yeah,
So I end up eating them. Like, and I just, I'd eat like a giant ton bag.
yeah. I think we're gonna lead a campaign this year for Easter instead of getting chocolate, but get crisps. I think
Yeah.
that'd be a good idea. No?
Yeah.
Who suggested that?
Charlene Murphy suggested
That's a
that.
great
Yeah.
That is a
suggestion.
brilliant idea.
Isn't it? That's a money racket right there. Boom.
Yeah.
Golden goose,
I
that
love
is.
it, yeah.
Imagine, like,
Chocolate flavored crisps.
well, I don't know about that now. Remember Tato did a bar? Tato did a bar before. But I just mean, like, you know the way you get an Easter egg? You have your crunchy Easter egg, your dairy milk Easter egg, your Maltesers, your Smarties. Imagine me, like, you have your King Crips, your Walker's Temptations packet,
Yeah.
Hunky Dory's, Pringles. Like, that'd be fucking deadly, wouldn't it? That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah. But there should be a limit to the number of flavors. I mean, like, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm sure this podcast is not just about crisps, although it probably should be.
Look,
But prawn cocktail,
Top of the range.
you would accept that?
I'd accept
Smoky
that.
bacon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
but
that.
so that's it. There's 4 flavors. There's cheese and onion, salt and vinegar, smoky bacon, and prawn cocktail. Anything else is out of order.
Nicest Crips for me is a ready salted packet of Walkers.
The original ones.
Okay, well, at a push,
You
but
get away with
nothing
it?
else. None of those like made uppy flavors.
No, I like the Temptations. You know, the sweet chili ones. The sweet chili Walker's Temptations. You're not into
I don't
them?
think I ever had them.
But you know what I don't like? At Christmas when they bring out like a turkey and stuffing flavour and all, you can keep that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a lot
no,
of bollocks.
no, nonsense.
Fucking stuffing flavour?
Yeah. Remember them Christmas boxes we got? There was a packet in that.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, you ate them and didn't even realise.
Yeah. The lad sorted us out with Christmas boxes. Shout out the goal out for the Christmas hamper.
Thing was full of gargle. We're bleeding sitting here in AA every week. We got a lot of bleeding gin.
They were Keogh's Crips, the bleeding turkey and stuff in Keogh's Crips.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they went in the bin now, but sure, look.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not into that.
No.
But what was the numbers on that? We didn't even get the numbers.
Heroes 42%, celebrations 58%.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the celebration.
Celebrations,
on
man.
Heroes, yeah.
Yeah.
Close.
Right, I have a thing of it this week. You said you haven't got one?
No.
I have one now. It's not great. It's not great. And the missus suggested it to me, scraping the bottom of a barrel, but it kind of leads on to the topic I want to talk about as well. When you're out in a restaurant, Ardal, and you're getting a dessert, do you get a proper dessert or do you get a cheese board?
I wouldn't normally go dessert at all,
Yeah.
but if I did, I'd go cheese board.
Would you
Would you?
really?
I
Yeah.
would, yeah, I would, yeah.
Over a cake?
But I wouldn't have a starter if I knew I was going to have the cheese board.
Yeah, I know
I
people
love
like
cheese.
that. That's a decent thing I do. Are you start on mains or mains dessert?
Yeah, but how do we do that?
Are you start on mains or are you mains dessert?
Follow point. Yeah.
Or start a dessert.
Mains dessert.
Yeah.
What's out of a starter that's like unbelievable?
Yeah.
Like that you go to bed and you go, oh, I'd mill that.
Chicken wings for the start, I know.
No, they're the mains.
Prawn cocktail.
You're eating in a very high-end restaurant, Dad. That's what it is. If you know quite well that you're going to this restaurant, you're going to get a cheese board for dessert, you know quite well it's a high-end restaurant. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going in hoping that they have, like, a cheesecake or something.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say. So
Well, if there was a lemon meringue pie on the menu, I would have that. But I'd share it. Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat a whole
yourself.
dessert. I could never eat a whole dessert.
Well, that's what you say. You don't have to lie on the podcast. Like,
No,
one's
but
gonna
that's
judge you.
actually true. I know I probably look like I could eat 2 or 3 whole desserts, but no, I just wouldn't be into. I don't have a sweet tooth.
Yeah. We were out the other night and I got there was cheesecake on the menu. I got it. And she ordered the cheese board. And we'd never done it before. Now, we've had cheese boards ourselves at home. And I was like, I just can't bring myself to order a cheese board when I know there's a cake on the menu. You know, like cheesecake.
Yeah.
So it was like cheesecake versus cheese board kind of thing. And she's like, that's a thing for you. Would you go dessert or do you go cheese board? So you'd pick a cheese board.
Yeah, I would pick a cheese board. Yeah, when it comes down to it, I would. But like as I said, I just like I probably wouldn't have anything. You know.
Yeah.
Go straight to the coffee. No, I love cheese. I've a fondness for it.
Yeah. So this is what's happened lately with us.
I had my first cheese board.
Yeah.
With Calvin and his missus there last week, was it?
Yeah.
And my God, it was unbelievable.
So I thought like that was the poshest thing I ever heard in my life. The
Yeah.
most pretentious thing
Yeah.
ever. Like most snobby thing ever. Cheese boards. And it was a couple of Christmases ago. I was down in the missus' house in Wexford. And she had a whole family over. And she had a few wines and she goes, I'm going to make a cheese board. I was like, what's fucking wrong with you, cheese board? Like, who do you think you are? Like, you know what I mean? Next of all, she's in the kitchen, comes back 10 minutes later with this board full of cheese and meat. And all just was looking at it is like, there's ham and there's cheese on that board and a few crackers, wherever. This can't be all that. And my God, it changed my life forever.
Yeah.
It was like literally the first day of the rest of my life that was. Yeah, I had an epiphany.
But it's great.
It's unbelievable.
And,
I
the
said this to
smellier
Terence.
and more disgusting
Yeah,
and runnier, the better.
Yeah, and I said this to Terence, and it's a hard sell to somebody, I think, to say cheese boards are great. So we brought him out to the gaff then, and we had it. I said to you first, I said, do you like cheese? And what did you say?
Yeah, I love easy singles. So I
Easy
thought,
singles.
I was deadly serious. He says, that's not cheese. I said, it fucking is
Yeah.
cheese. You put it on a toasty, like, you know what I mean? I didn't even realise. Do you want to see the amount of
There's
different
about
cheeses on the
1,000
show?
different cheeses.
Blue
Yeah.
cheese, cranberry cheese,
Brie.
smoked
And we
cheese.
all grew up with things like Calvita and these processed cheeses. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Or
Baby Bells and all.
Baby Bells and all those little things. And I always remember my mother always had a stinky cheese in the fridge for herself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until much later that we got to go with that. But oh God, no, I just love it. Like if someone's going away, do you remember the way you used to ask them to bring cigarettes home or something?
Yeah.
I'd ask them to bring me a cheese home.
Yeah. But they're fucking deadly. So we love them now. And all my life, when I was working in the office, so somebody like would come in from a foreign office and they'd bring in all the cheeses and they'd leave them on the desk for everybody, but it'd be beside my desk. And I'd say, like, get that away. And they'd be like slagging me saying, oh, you haven't a clue.
Yeah.
All you eat is cheddar. And I was like, look, if I can't go on a cheese toasty,
Yeah.
I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
So it was like literally cheddar cheese or nothing. And they used to have to cover the cheese because I always complain about it. And now this is it. Now I'm up to me neck in convictions and brie. That's all me like.
I know, and like we're very hard on ourselves, especially about food.
Yeah.
People are very hard on themselves. Like there's few pleasures in life really, and we noticed that over the last few years. Like enjoy your food.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and we were trying to hint at the lads to get us a cheese board. And if I would happily say, hey,
Think of
a
the
few
guests
crackers.
you'd have every week if you had a cheese
Cheese
board
board,
there.
yeah.
in
Offer
front.
them a cheese board and a
That's
chat.
like yeah.
Cheese board and chats, that's the name of
That's
the
a good
podcast.
name
yeah.
of the podcast, isn't it?
But the problem is people laugh then because I eat it like a bleeding dirty Lunchable, you know what I mean? I get a cracker, put cheese on it, a slice of ham, then another cracker, and then there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
call it childish, but I just call it modern cheese board. And then I city cheese board, that's what that is. The ICC.
Yeah.
Right. Cheese board's done and dusted.
Cheese board's done and dusted.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a zinger.
Oh my God.
Me nerves.
Well, I might have. I don't know. I have a few zingers. One of them I just thought of when we were talking about crisps
Right.
is where do you wipe your greasy hands? On the back of your trousers or on your socks?
Your socks?
I never heard of socks, but that's such a good idea. It makes
Such a good
lot of
idea, isn't
sense.
it?
What?
Because it's hidden if you wipe your fingers in your socks. You're not wiping them in your bottoms.
Oh my God, Ardal, you're a genius.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if
who
I
thought of that?
How have we not thought of that?
Because we wear ankle stockings
That's
nowadays.
the problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
or some people don't wear socks at all.
Yeah, no, I'm not into not wearing socks. I wear ankle socks.
Yeah,
same
yeah,
as myself.
yeah. Well, now you'll start wearing a longer sock. Now that you know that.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for years, and even like if you sneeze into your hand and you don't have a tissue handy, what do you do?
I sneeze into my t-shirt. If I'm going to sneeze, I sneeze like that. Like I'm going to rob a post office. Sneeze into that. You'd probably rob a post office with a sneeze these days. Give me all the money, I'm going to sneeze on you.
Yeah.
Hand everything over there.
The
Go on, good luck, get him out of here.
perfect weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I use my socks for lots of things. Like I find them very, very
I'd
handy.
say it. Yeah.
Come here, Ardal. I'm not going to question that. We won't go into detail there.
I'll show you.
Things like glass on the floor. You pick them up, they shatter.
The thing in the corner around barking at you.
No, I have another zinger, but this is something that's been troubling me for a few weeks now, and it might be a bit deep, certainly so early on in the podcast.
It's grand, we always get the.
It might be a bit profound, and in fact, there might be no way back from this.
Oh, shit.
I'm all in, Ardal. Let's go.
I hope I'm not overselling it. Okay, so now, and this is important stuff. Which is better, to believe in a horrible God, or not to believe in a lovely God? Now, that shut
when
you
you
up.
said it was deep, like, I thought you were on the wind up and you were going to do what we do, you piss in the shower and whatever. You're at the ground deep there. And
That
my
is
head's
very deep.
wrecked hard.
Yeah, I know. This could change the course of your lives here.
No, it could, yeah, or it can get us cancelled.
Calvin's joining the priesthood.
Yeah, isn't do you know what? Isn't that what they say? That could be an equilateral matter. Or that
That would be
word?
an ecumenical matter.
I can't say that word.
Yeah.
That's what this is, isn't it?
It is.
That's the definition of that.
It is. And the reason why I was thinking about it was because I was actually in a conversation with someone who I know quite well, who was insisting that God sent the virus, and the same person tell you God sends the storms and the hurricanes. And like, which is
So you believe in a horrible God, that person
exactly.
does, yeah.
And like, I don't know what I believe in, but I'd like to think God is lovely. And I find myself, even though, I'm not religious, although I don't know what I believe in, I'm very confused. I always find myself defending God against believers who are saying, do you know what I mean?
Every bad thing that happened, that's God doing that.
Going, come on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that.
So do we have to answer this?
I'd rather not believe in a lovely God.
Shame.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Because I can't answer, I don't know. My head's wrecked, scrambled.
Yeah.
If you could see inside my head now, it's just a hamster and a bleeding wheel of this.
Oh, I know. But like, look, there'd be the Pope wouldn't be able to figure that one out.
Yeah. Right, well, that was deep, yeah?
Yeah.
That was very deep.
Yeah.
But Ardal, do
big
you piss in the shower, by the way? 'Cause
Big
that's
question.
the important one.
Yeah.
I haven't for a while.
Right, what's a while? A week or a month?
No. A good long time. I would do it. I would say it was about a year.
So you remember the exact time? What happened, Ardal? Must have been traumatic.
I'll tell you.
The toilet was broke that day, wasn't it? So you had to piss in the shower.
It was actually an outdoor shower. This is like I was working away from home.
Yeah.
So like I think you'd have to give me a certain amount of leeway.
Right.
I'm not going to judge you for pissing in the shower. If anything, we credit you more from admitting that you piss in the shower.
Okay,
you're
well, I
one of
just
the
feel
boys.
that this is the type of show where you have to be honest.
Of course.
And it was a few years ago. I was working away from home. I was in an acting job, and it was an outdoor shower in the place I was staying. So, like, naturally, you're in the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing I did in the shower. No. There's Terence waiting for me. Go on. There's more. No, there isn't.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that in an outdoor shower.
No.
JC's
But,
scrubbing for a while over there, isn't he?
But there's no I mean, there's no harm in pissing in the
I
shower.
think it's
is
more
there?
beneficial to piss
People
in the
were
shower.
sending us studies and all, saying that there's issues behind it and all.
Yeah,
Right.
is there? If the like,
Supposedly,
I doubt it,
right?
like, you know what I mean?
Supposedly, if you piss in the shower, your body associates the sound of flowing water with urinating. Then, so the next time you hear a tap going, you're gonna piss yourself. I don't believe that's true because I don't ever need to have a piss when, like, I'm washing the dishes or washing my hands or whatever.
I know, I think that actually happens though, no?
I don't know.
Like
Supposedly,
that's like...
that is a fact. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a fact. Like, if you touch water or anything like that, like, your body
Or
associates
if you were struggling to get it out, turn on the tap. That would be a
that's what they say, isn't it?
popular
But
thing to do.
that's-
But you see,
that's what
I'm
people are
older than
sending us.
you, and like.
Are
Like
you?
I am. I'm a good bit older than you. So like I have more experience in these matters than you.
Yeah.
So like I would have a good system developed over the years, like to know not to get into the shower when I need a piss.
Yeah.
See, you probably still make that mistake. I wouldn't make that mistake now at my age.
I do it on purpose, Ard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just wait till it
you
happens.
enjoy it.
And
Well,
just get
it's
straight in.
quite nice. Like
Turning 60 immersion on when he needs to have a piss.
I know, and you've got the different temperatures and everything going on. Like it's kind of like it's comforting.
Yeah. Can't get over.
I'm so glad you asked me that.
I just think it's more efficient to piss in the shower. Because what you're going to do, you're going to piss, then you're going to flush, then you're going to go in and have a shower.
Well, you see-
it's all going down the same drain.
I think you're onto something there. If unless someone can prove that it's ecologically unsound to piss in the shower.
They're great answers. It's like it's almost like you were asked these questions before. Did anybody ever ask you if you pissed in the shower?
Absolutely. Every time, every interview, for some reason, they just associate me with pissing in the shower. No, that's actually the first time I've been asked that and admitted that.
Which is a great.
It's something to be ashamed of.
No.
Yeah, one of the boys now. They'll be rocking around tracksuits next week, snatching phones and
And
parties.
that's the thing about the range and the topics on this podcast. Yeah, like we had Roddy Doyle on here and we were talking about seagulls, the stuff he's wrote, the stuff he's produced or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pissing in the shower and he denied it. I said I didn't believe him and he got real aggro about it.
Yeah.
Shouted at me then. I wasn't having it.
I mean, like I remember. I'm sure this has happened to you as well. Please tell me it's happened to you as well. Like, where you maybe had a bit too much to drink, and you get up and you think you're in the bathroom and you're not. You're in your wardrobe or somewhere, or in the corner of the room. Has that happened?
We don't drink.
Right.
Anymore.
Well, I haven't drank in a lot longer than Terence, so I don't think I've experienced enough drunken nights to have to happen to me. But what has happened to me, and I think this is a thing because one or two people agreed. Have you ever had a dream that you are pissing in a toilet and then you wake up and you're pissing in the bed?
Yeah.
Be honest. Have you ever had that dream like you'd be bursting in your sleep and in your dream you're walking to the bathroom and there's a toilet there?
Not pissing in the toilet.
But you
like,
had
I had a dream
of
that I was pissing. But obviously I was just delirious.
Yeah. So it happened to me only about just before COVID, I'd say it was. I had a dream that I was obviously bursting to go to the toilet, and I had a dream I was pissing in the toilet. But then, because it happened to me before, I knew I was pissing in the bed, and I jumped up, and I managed to stop like before more like damage was done.
So you could go back to bed like it
But
was only a little
the
bit.
missus was beside me, right? And I ran in. I had a piss, and I came out. I had a towel and all. I was like bollocks, and I was like, she was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I'm not pissing in the bed," and I was like trying to play it down. I was like, "Piss in the bed. Look, I'll put a towel down and I'll change the sheets in the morning." And she's like breaking her heart laughing. You pissed the bed. I was like, right, get over it. Like, you know what I mean? So I knew then, the second I woke up the next morning, I knew. I was like, right, she's going to try and make a show of me. So I rang all my mates. I put in the group chat. I rang me ma. And I rang her ma. And I said, I pissed the bed last night. So she couldn't say and make a show of me. So you can't make a show of somebody who doesn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it's good to get those things out of the way early in a relationship as well, I find.
Yeah, this was only about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We're at
Yeah.
work.
Really, not the first time she stayed.
No, not the first night. Not the first day.
Hang on, what if you pissed the bed and then she's into it and you're like, all right, we'll wrap this one up.
No, but I do remember, like, I was in, when I was a student, like, I would have been about 18, 19 in Munich for the summer. And I was working in a restaurant. And so there was about like 20 people working in the restaurant from all over the world. Palestinians, Romanians, Irish lads. And we were living in this kind of house that was beside the restaurant. And we used to work in the kitchens in the restaurant. And it was like, you can imagine, just chaos. Like there was about 10 people living in the one room, you know, just in sleeping bags. And, you know, you'd be drinking every night or whatever. And I just remember this one night just getting up and basically pissing on my friend. Like I didn't plan it. I didn't really remember it until he woke me and said, you know, what are you doing? And like he was sort of going, just, you know, move over there a little bit. And then I remember as well, I did me washing in a bucket. So like one of those old margarine tubs or something like that. And I would have washed maybe about 5 or 6 pairs of underpants and 3 or 4 pairs of socks, whatever I had with me. And I completely forgot about it for about a month. And I came back and like it was all disintegrated, all me washing. Like it's just the way, you know, when you're a student away from home, like that's
the way
it goes, yeah.
Well, that
How the fuck did we get talking about that?
pissing in beds, pissing in
in
the
the
shower.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about like God, but there you go.
Well, look, they go hand in hand. Right, well, we'll get into it then.
Yeah. So, Ardal, what we do with all our guests, we say, what's your name, where'd you come from, and tell us what life was like growing up.
I was like blind date. Remember with Cilla Black? What's your name? Where'd you come from?
Well, my name is Ardal O'Hanlon.
AOH.
Yeah, real name. And I come from Carrickmacross, County Monaghan.
Sorry to
Bandit
hear.
County.
Bandit County, you could call it that.
Green Diesel County.
That's right. Yeah. We grew up in green diesel, red diesel, and green diesel. All the different colours of diesel.
The Rainbow Diesel.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a small town near the border. Troubles in the background, you know, which would spill over from time to time. I grew up in a house with 3 brothers, 2 sisters, and my mother and father. It's kind of like a happy childhood, I suppose.
Good gang is that? 8 years in the house?
Yeah, 8 of us. Yeah. I remember like 3 boys in the one room. You know, it was grand. I really don't know what to say about it. You know.
Were you the youngest?
I think it was a happy
oldest,
childhood.
in the middle?
Oh yeah, I was the third. So I had an older sister, brother, me, brother, younger sister.
And so what was it like in school? What were you like in school?
So the school, I was I was very quiet, like all through my childhood. I was very quiet. I had 2 passions in life. I loved football, soccer, and I loved reading books. So I was kind of like a solitary kid insofar as like, in school I just played football all day long and after school. And then I would go to my room and I would read all night, all day and all night. And I would play football in the back garden on my own a lot of the time. And you know, I would say I was a kind of observant kid, watchful kid, kind of quiet. Like it was kind of odd. Like, you know, I don't know. Small town Ireland is a funny place. Like, you know, we were quite middle class. You know, to use that terminology.
You'd be fond of a cheese board.
Fond of a cheese board, although that came much later in life. My father was a doctor growing up, and my mother was at home all the time. And you know, but in a small town, like, you know, everyone keeps their head down. You know, you wouldn't, like, if you got new clothes, you wouldn't be allowed to wear them. That kind of thing.
Because everybody knows everyone.
Exactly, and especially, you know, being the doctor's son. I think you had to sort of, you know, just keep your head down and not draw attention to yourself in any way. You know, like, there was huge respect for the doctor in the town, like, for a start. So, and you'd be very aware, like, you know, at school, not that you couldn't, like, showing off was big taboo, obviously. So, and I was quite good at school, but I always, like, pretended I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was really, really strange, you know, like, and even to the extent that, like, I didn't really have a very strong Carrickmacross accent, but when it came to my turn to read in class, I'd put on a really strong accent. Do you know what I mean?
Why was that?
Because you just want to fit in. Like you kind of, you don't want to be different in any way. Like my name was very strange. I really had a problem with that. My name is Ardal. Like it's a really strange name. There's virtually no one else in the country called Ardal except me. And it was an old family name. And you know, whatever it means, great courage or something in Irish. So
That's cool, no? I'd be flaunting that if I was a kid.
no, but you just want to be called John or Steve or something, you know, when you're that age, don't you? You know, you don't want to stand out in any way.
Yeah, you just want to blend in.
Yeah, and even on the football field, like playing Gaelic football for, let's say, up to under 14, under 16 level, like, and I was quite good because I was a soccer player, so I was kind of skillful and all that. But like, you deliberately wouldn't score sometimes, or you wouldn't go on a solo run or anything like that because, like, not only the opposing team and opposing fans would be at you, your own fans would be like, would you stop that fucking arsing around and pass the ball?
So what do you think that's like kind of bred into you to lie low?
Yeah, it is. Like it's
environment,
my own family environment, but it's also the border kind of way. You know, it's very much keep your head down, very much say nothing. Very much like nobody needs to know your business.
Do you think this kind of spills over from the Troubles? It's just like
I do, and even pre Troubles, like there was a long tradition of smuggling along the border as well. You know, and so yeah, I mean, you know, and also people from the northern counties generally are kind of like a bit sort of deadpan by nature. You know, it definitely fed into my humour later on.
Yeah,
like you meet some of the funniest people ever, but you never really knew what people were talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like winking was the main form of communication. You know, people. You would never know what anyone was thinking. So like it'd be like a wink, and that could mean anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It could mean like I love you, or it could mean do you want to buy a pup? You know.
Yeah.
Like so, and even when people are joking, they're winking.
And even when they're serious, they're winking.
And even when they're serious, they're winking. And like so and it's that deadpan way of talking, like it's literally so bone dry, so deadpan. And
it's a bit like an omerta kind of thing though, isn't it? Like saying nothing.
Yeah, it is, you know, and like, especially around the time of the Troubles and say the hunger strikes and all that, you know, you just had to like be careful in that, you know, like I remember walking home from a nightclub when I was 15. There was a nightclub about 5 miles from the town, really strange place, a legendary place called the Oasis. People used to come from all over the north, Armagh, Belfast, everywhere to this place. It was legendary, like 5,000 people there. I remember hitching home one night. I told on my own, about 3 a.m, whatever. And you know, some fella comes out of the trees. And he starts walking with me, and then he asked me like, "Do you want to go training?" And then winking. What is he talking about? Football training? What kind of training? And it was, you know, a different type of training. You know, in the woods. So like, you know, that kind of thing went on. So you just had to be, you know, you just knew, you know, you were watchful all the time. You'd eyes in the back of your head, like.
Was the family home like isolated?
No, it wasn't. It was in the town. It was like it was sort of on the outskirts of town, and you know, got on with everyone. One of my neighbors, next door neighbor, was a pig farm. Like, you know, so it was kind of like on the outskirts of town. There was farms all around us, pig farms and everything else. I used to work in pig farms growing up, and so you know, it was kind of like. It was kind of like I suppose a happy childhood, but you've nothing to go on. Like you've nothing to compare it to. Like you don't know.
That's all you know.
You know, that's all you know. But like, you know, you keep your eyes open and you try to, you know, you kind of see what's going on. Like the other thing was like, so my father was a doctor and he used to work all the hours of the day and night, and a lot of his patients would pay him in eggs or turkeys or chickens or something, you know, and there was all that kind of thing going on. Then he got into politics, and so there was literally always hundreds of people in my house.
Yeah.
So that was a great education as well.
Yeah.
You know, you had the people coming and going all the time. Like the door was always open. There was always people coming in. I'd be dealing with stuff. I learned to drive when I was 14. When a fella arrived at the front door and he'd just cut his leg off with a chainsaw. So his leg was literally hanging off. And at the age of 14, you could smell the blood, see the blood coming out through his trousers. And somehow he'd got to our house in his little Fiat 124 or whatever. And and my father wasn't around that day. And there was another doctor who lives about a mile away. And he said, I can't drive anymore. He was very faint, white face. And he asked me to drive him down to the other doctor's house. That was my first ever time driving, like behind the car. This fella with his leg hanging off, teaching me how to drive. First gear all the way, you know. Like, it was extraordinary. So people coming and going all the time. And that kind of crack, that border crack, like, I mean, you mightn't even think it's cracked, but like it's sharp and it's fucking dark. It's dark as fuck. Like, it's really...
That's because you are amped up constantly.
Yeah.
So you are always up here.
Yeah,
that's why I think, like, when you go up north, everything is so intimidating. Like, people, when I go to Belfast, I think anyone just talking to you is intimidating. And they could be like, how are you getting on? And you're like, fuck. And they're all sound. They're all bang on. I've never met someone from the north that wasn't bang on to me.
I know. And it's like that at home. Everyone's great. It's just that an outsider would not know what they're thinking. No. Yeah. And sometimes I used to think, like, are they even, like, do we even have emotions? You know what I mean? Like, like the register is very narrow. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of emotions. You never get too happy or you never get too down. Yeah. So it's all in there. All just in the middle. Like, if someone won the lottery, you'd be like, oh, yeah,
give it a wink.
Won the fucking lottery. You know? Like, are you happy about it? Or if someone, you know, lost their husband, he's gone. You know? Like, it's like, it's just so deadpan the whole time. Yeah. But you learn to navigate that a bit, you know, and then there was the kind of the politics side of things, you know, you had all these people coming in with their issues. So you become very aware of that, you know, like social issues, social problems.
So your dad was the local TD?
He was the local TD then for a long time, and the doctor. He was doing both at the one time. So he'd be going from the surgery to the room where he saw the constituents and back to the surgery again all day long. Like, very hard working. Say what you like about politicians, and you know, I've got my own views about politicians as well. But, like, you know, I know from my experience growing up with him how hard working he was, like 18 hours a day minimum, you know. But it was a funny, it was grand. A lot of books in the house, I would say, you know.
It sounds like you're in an environment where you're going to learn a lot. In not just academic wise, but in life.
Much more than academic, yeah, exactly.
You know, like someone come in and tell you, that fella who cut his leg off the chainsaw, this is actually what he did wrong, this tendon got severed and that. Yeah. But it'll also teach you a lesson as well. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But next time a fella knocks at the door like that, don't answer.
Yeah. But even just being around all these people and expose them and the chat, and they'd be always chatting to you and always giving you a guff, and you know, they tell you their problems. From the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, they'd be telling you, like, about the trouble they were having with whatever it was, planning permission or something. I always remember a story as well. My father, like, he'd get all types in there, and a lot of the problems would be very real and very serious, you know, but a lot of them wouldn't. Like, I remember one fella came in, like, genuinely seriously, and he asked my father, could he get Hawaii 5-0 back on the telly?
Fuck off.
So this is, you know, this is the type of thing you'd be dealing with as well. But I mean, you know, I love the town. Like, it's you know, it's like, it's not a love-hate thing, but you know, I did really love it, you know.
Yeah. And you went to school down here though, didn't you? You went to secondary down here?
I went to secondary school down here. I did the first year there, and then I went to the secondary school in Dublin. Yeah.
What was all that about?
It was, I don't know. Again, I suppose like, there is a tradition in small towns in Ireland for, like, the sort of the professional classes, if you want to call them that, to send their children away to boarding school, to the thinking being that it's the best education money can buy. I don't necessarily agree with that. I certainly wouldn't have sent a child of mine to a boarding school. It was, like, to keep you out of trouble as much as anything else as well, you know.
Why did you say it like that? Like, did it not keep you out of trouble? Oh, you were like, I wouldn't necessarily say my one.
No, but I think, like, to be afraid you'd get someone pregnant or something like that, or you know, you'd get in with the wrong crowd, or, you know, and like, it's never spelled out. Nothing is ever spelled out in rural Ireland. You know, it's all, this is how you interpret it later on or whatever. And you know, your parents do the best they can for you, and they think this is the best thing they can do for you. I personally don't think it is. Like, I don't think separating a 12-year-old very innocent boy from his mother and his brothers and sisters is a good idea. I don't think I'll ever think that.
Yeah.
You know, it shapes you in all sorts of ways, good ways and bad ways. But, you know, I don't think it's a great thing to do.
So did you struggle because of that then?
Well, I mean, struggle. You know, it was grand. You know what I mean? It's you fit in with it. You do what you're told to do. You accept it. You accept. You know, you, like, you know, of course it's a huge privilege. At least you're told it's a huge privilege all your life that it's a huge
Going to a
privilege.
private school kind
Going
of
to
thing.
a private school
Yeah.
is a huge privilege. Like, I suppose if you want to be a rugby player, it's a big
perfect.
privilege.
Yeah.
If you want to go into business or the professions, it may well be a privilege later in life that having that school on your CV is probably a
And
great
the
help.
network as well.
And
You're
the
going-
network
you're
is
going to
probably a
skill
great
with
help.
kids
Being a
that
stand-up
business owners.
comedian, it's not a great help.
No.
Like, the one thing about doing stand-up comedy or acting or any of those things, like there is a certain meritocracy there, where you stand on your own 2 feet and no one gives a shite what school you went to.
Yeah.
And particularly when you go to England, no one gives a shite what school you went to. In Ireland, there's a little bit of an obsession about what school you went to.
Yeah.
But I don't think it shaped me. Like it was the only thing that shaped me, or the most important thing that shaped me. Like, I think obviously things like gender, social class, race, all those things are hugely important.
Yeah.
But so are so many other things, like your own, like your ability, your like, you might have a disability, you might have mental health issues, you might, where you come in the family, third child, that would have a bearing on you. Your relationship with your parents, with your mother, with your father, all these things, hugely important in who you are. So, and I think like you can categorize people the way you're categorized all your lives, the way, you can categorize people, in all sorts of ways. And, so like, I kind of turn me back on all that anyway. Like, and I don't mean, I don't mean I resent it or anything like that. But, I want, like, from an early age, I was kind of stubborn. I like reading. I like writing. I liked having fun. And I ended up drifting into comedy after school, and, very determined to sort of make my own way in life. And while acknowledging that I came from a very comfortable background.
Yeah.
And not pretending I didn't for a moment.
Yeah.
But, like, very determined to make my own way in life.
Yeah, because there is a bit of a weird one when you think about, like, how you get into stand-up comedy, when on paper, like, your dad's the local doctor, he's a TD, you go to a private school in Dublin, and then you go into stand-up comedy then. Yeah, it's almost like, we're kind of like the black sheep in the family that way.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, they're all black sheeps in different ways, I suppose, like, I mean, it's who you are, like I was, when I say, like, I was quiet, I was sort of, I wouldn't say gloomy, but I was like, I mean, it's like I was sort of, or even moody's not the right word, but, I just knew from a very early age that, like, I mean, I don't even know how to put it, that life was absurd. That's the only way I can put it. That, all this thing going to work. Like, I was very, very, very influenced by the Troubles growing up. I used to read the paper from cover to cover from the age of about 7. I used to watch the nightly news, all the carnage, murder and bombing every single night. And I always thought from quite a young age, it's like, how the fuck can people carry on with their lives while all this is going on down the road? So, like, things like getting a job and things like that were just not in my mindset ever. You know what I mean? It was always about creating something or expressing something within yourself, so whether that was in writing. I always thought I was going to be a writer. That was my, like, the first thing, like, from very early age, I thought I wanted to write books. And then I went to college in NIHE Dublin and did communication studies. So even that was kind of thinking maybe journalism or something like that, and or radio broadcasting or something. And I fell into comedy there, and that's how I started doing that. So I never quite got around to the writing
But
for
how
many
do you
years.
just fall into comedy, though? Like, how do you just say, do you know what, I'm going to do this where I'll go up on stage and make a lot of people laugh?
Well, because I always had this view of life, like this take on life. So I was always there, like, I wouldn't say like sniggering in the corner at everything going on, but I always had this sort of satirical view of things.
Yeah.
So like, I don't quite know where that came from, but so it started with debating in college. So I started debating, and like, I was like, you've no idea, like, I was a shy, awkward country lad.
And that's what I'm at the main thing. Had you got like a close group of friends?
Yes, I did have a close group of friends. Always had a close group of friends. Not in primary school, I had no friends. I don't mean no friends. You just didn't need friends. I had loads of
Just
brothers and sisters.
associates.
Yeah.
Associates and people I played football with. You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't speak. You'd play football for 8 hours solid, but you wouldn't talk ever. You know, but I always had a good close knit group of friends at school, and we used to have a good laugh. And then in college, I had a very close knit group of friends, and that was a great laugh.
Because I'd assume, like, that's nearly where most comedians would start. They'd have, like, that close-knit group of friends saying, this cunt is funny, like, he's witty.
yeah.
He could go down that road.
Well, I do remember, like, so my very last month in school, so in the posh boarding school in Dublin, and I was quiet at school. Like, most people outside my own little circle wouldn't know I existed. That's a fact. And shy, like, cripplingly shy, like, always red face, sweating all the time. Like, seriously, like it was, you know, you know, it's painful to remember it, but I do remember. So there was a school debate at the end of the year, and all the boys who, you know, you'd expect were up there doing that debate. So they were the lads who would have been prefects and would have been, you know, quite prominent. Maybe some of them good rugby players and stuff. And then there was me. Like, my friends pushed me forward to it, and I had written this like ridiculous speech, and totally unrelated to the motion in question, and I did it, and it brought the house down. So all these people going, "Who's your man?" Like, sweating with the red face, and that was me, and I got such a kick from that, such a rush from that. Like, I can't describe it to you. Like, as good a reaction as you get today. Do you know what I mean? It was like it doesn't get any better than that first time. So then when I went into college, you know, same thing. Pushed myself to get up there and do that. Joined the debate, and again, just taking the piss. Just, you have this thing, the Irish Times debating competition every year for all the colleges. So it's mostly people who go on to become lawyers or politicians. And again, I went up for it and just tried to be funny, and it worked. You know, like whatever was going on, it was just funny, and
Actually just had a knack for it.
Yeah, you know, and a style that, and I realised the style was from growing up in Carrickmacross, County Monaghan. This kind of, it was like bewildered, sort of like what's going on, kind of a thing, and you know, just saying a really like funny, satirical, witty thing, and you know, and quite cutting, you know, as well, and it would make people laugh, and so I used to have my own little followers then for a while in college, which was great.
So what age did you start getting the knack for comedy then?
So it would have been then after college. So like it would have been around, so I would have left college in 2000, no, not in, what the fuck?
19, left college very late, did you?
Yeah. 1997. So 1997, I left college. Big recession in Ireland at the time. Most people emigrating.
Yeah.
Like, there was very few jobs for people who did communication studies in NIHE Dublin, like you know, and virtually everyone ended up doing something entirely different. And so myself and two of my friends, we just had it in our heads we were going to set up a comedy club. There was nothing like this in Dublin at the time, like nothing. And one of my friends had been to London the year before. The summer he'd worked in London during the summer. He'd gone to the Comedy Store in London, Leicester Square, which was like a big kind of mecca for comedy. So he came back saying, you know, he's seen the light and this is what we need to do in Dublin. So it took us about a year to get our act together. Like we were on the dole, we were playing football in, you know, parks, morning to night. That's all we did. And but we were writing little snippets of things, little sketches and things. And then the three of us got together. We were four at one stage, and we got together and we started writing a load of sketches. And we went into the International Bar in Dublin, and we started up the Comedy Cellar upstairs. And we did it once a month to begin with, and then it was kind of once every week after about maybe a year of that, once a week. But it was like, it was nothing. It was like 1 gig a month, but you get, like, it was great.
And did you have to have a conversation with your dad about going into comedy after him?
I still haven't told him. I just can't bring myself to tell him.
He'll be fucked if he listens to this podcast now.
He'd be devastated.
Yeah, because like a lot of people, when they venture out into something mad, when like when their parents are successful, it's like sort of shun upon. It's like, don't fucking do that. Will you just get a steady job?
It's very uncomfortable, you know, like, you know, I mean, you don't want to be like living in your parents' shadow, or you don't want to be defined by what your father does or anything like that, So you try to forge your own path as best as you can. And like this was all really low, small scale stuff. There was 3 or 4 of us involved. A few more people joined in. So maybe there was 6 or 7, a little group forming, a little nucleus of like-minded people. And we used to go in there and it was just brilliant, It was just brilliant. It was like a little self-help group, everyone helping each other, talking about each other's material afterwards, going, would you not change that? Would you not think of dropping that bit and maybe try something like this? So it was really collaborative, cooperative. And I mean, those early days, like, don't get me wrong, I actually, during the first year of the disaster that's recently befallen us all, I found some old diaries that I kept from that time. And I was doing a big clean out of the house. And Jesus, I felt very sorry for the young man. So I would have been about 21 or 22 or whatever. And jeez, it was gloomy shit.
That you were writing?
Yeah, it was really gloomy. Like, it was hopeless.
Yeah.
So there was the one like light in our lives, that like once a week in the International Bar. And it was just brilliant. So your whole world revolved around that. And you went in there, did your sketches in front of the 50 people. And then little bits of stand-up start growing and growing. And then you go out afterwards, and like that was it. That was life, and it felt kind of cool on the one hand, but on the other hand, it felt like, jeez, this is going nowhere.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
So did you see the potential though?
No, you couldn't.
So why'd you stick at it?
I don't know. I was
just obviously
very stubborn, like very, very stubborn.
Just enjoying it.
Just enjoying it, like you get a big kick out of doing it.
Yeah,
I have to say.
You have to be funny though.
You have to be funny. I've seen a lot of people like continue to do it long after like it was clear that they weren't funny.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt about it. There was a lot of people like that, and you just kind of going, Jesus, please spare yourself.
Yeah.
I would have stopped. I know I'd have the cop on. I would have stopped like the first time people didn't find it funny.
And you moved to London, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
So it was that through comedy. You said, you know what, it'd be better if I moved to London. Or
yeah,
what?
no, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
what it was.
Yeah.
So then you start seeing the potential then.
Yeah, so it was like it was to give it one last go. It was to give it a proper go, and then I said it to my girlfriend, and at the time, who's now my wife, and I was about 28 by this age. So like you're talking 5 or 6 years of arsing around Dublin.
And you're hitting your late 20s now.
Hitting your late 20s, everyone is in jobs, so it's kind of soul destroying watching all that going on around you. And like no money, You're thinking like life has just passed me by here. You've got the little consolation of being an artist.
Yeah.
And Dublin in those days, unlike today, you could be an artist in the city centre. I used to live in New Bride Street, in there behind Whelan's and Wexford Street, beside the Meath Hospital. And it was fantastic. You're right in the heart of town. Lads would come around, you play chess with them or whatever. Play cards all night, play football in the parks. It was... there were consolations, and everyone was going around with a guitar in their hand in those days. You'd see fellas reading poetry on Grafton Street, and they were all living in town. So it was different. There was a real bohemian vibe to the place in those days. There was loads of bands as well. You'd be going to bands every night.
Really unique characters everywhere, like sort of.
Yeah. So so there was that, and I wouldn't swap it for anything. It was a great foundation. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then by the time I went to London when I was 28, I was ready for anything, literally anything, and hit the ground running when I got over there.
So talk to us about it. So when you got over to London, there, how do you hit the ground running? Where do you get your first gig?
So you would have met comedians over the years. We would have done the odd Edinburgh festival with the sketch group, Mr. Trellis, and you would have met comedians there and stuff like that. So you'd have a phone book full of contacts and stuff. So I would have rang a few people, Irish comedians. There was a guy called Michael Redmond over there, well-established Irish comedian, really funny. He played Father Stone in Father Ted, if anyone remembers that show. And he was a lovely fella, friend of mine. And there was a few others like him. And you'd ring them first of all and say, listen, is there any chance of getting an open spot somewhere? So it was just open spots, unpaid open spots. And so you'd build up. I kind of like in the month or so before I went, I'd sort of had a collection of gigs to go to, and then you entered these competitions, and I won a few competitions in my first month in London. One of them was the Hackney Empire New Act of the Year. One of them was spitting image, something, I don't know. And so that gets you off the ground. People start noticing you, and then they start offering you gigs.
Yeah.
So before long, I was doing 5 or 6 gigs a week, and things were beginning to take off. And
That was tipping over for you. That was paying the bills, and the money was coming
absolutely. The money was coming in. First time in my life, money was coming in, and it was, you get a great kick out of it, traveling up and down the country, and finally, it was like, but it was about proving it to myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've always been racked with self-doubt ever since I was a kid. And even now, like, still would be. The doubt never really goes away, but like, by constant reinforcement of people actually laughing at you, that's
builds confidence.
I think it's fair to say you're probably an established comedian at this stage. You're doing tours up and down the country, How did you find gigging? And like, have you got I fucking have a flip flop in my mouth now. Have you got like a memory of your best gig and your worst gig? Are you able to say, like, this one was my best and this one was definitely, that was horrible. I died of death.
It's a great question, Cam.
Yeah. No, I can definitely remember the bad ones. Like, I don't remember the good ones, but I remember the bad ones. Like, I remember, I remember one stands out for me it was in Basildon in Essex, and it was in a cinema complex. So if you can imagine, like, a cinema with 3 or 4 different screens and a big lobby, brightly lit, people playing fruit machines in the corner in Motorhead t-shirts, and I had a plug-in mic, like literally with a 3-pin plug in it. They used have you ever seen a mic like that?
No.
Like, so some guy. So this is a comedy event run by the council or something, and you travel down from London on the train, and the guy doesn't really know what's going on, but he gives you the plug-in mic, and you stand in a corner, like in the corner of a room, plug in the mic, and you start talking, and literally no one looked around at me, like, because the mic is like no one can hear you, and they're just walking in and out of the cinema, and they're playing the fruit machine. Not one person looked at me. So, like, you'd remember gigs like that.
Did
Yeah.
you
But
get
it toughens
paid
you
for
up.
that?
£100 or something. Like, it was
You take it.
absolutely. You'd do any gig for money. Prisons. Remember doing gigs in prisons as
Did
well.
you?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
Ireland
yeah.
or
In Ireland, actually, in Wheatfield.
Up to the boys?
Yeah.
How'd that go with you?
There was 2 different ones actually. There was one for the sex offenders, didn't go so well. It was kind of thankless. I mean, it was, and it was obviously a social worker asked you to do it, and so you were doing it for nothing, and you were doing it because you were asked to do it. Like,
So there's no benefit to that.
there's absolutely no benefit. It was traumatic, and but the other one, we did one, like an improv gig once in sort of the mainstream prison, and I guess, like, the people who were at the gig were probably some of the more outgoing members of the prison population, like, and so they were up for a laugh, and it was kind of like so, and it's improv, so you're asking for suggestions, which is asking for trouble in a way, because, like, they're like, I can't really remember, but they'd be trying to they'd be shouting shocking things, really, but it was also trying to, like, get the screws in trouble. That was the and using names of, like, screws. We wouldn't have known who they were talking about, but everyone would roll around the place laughing.
Yeah.
So we'd have to incorporate those names into the sketch that you do.
Yeah.
And so that was a very successful gig. Like, that went very well, and you could see the benefit in doing that. But
Yeah.
so you would do, like my policy at the time was to do any gig I was asked to do.
Yeah.
You just didn't
Get yourself out there.
ask questions.
Yeah,
So
not the hustle,
you
isn't
do Christmas parties, you do anything, like, and to get the experience under your belt.
Yeah.
And so then you'd be ready for everything, and over time, like, as you get better at your job and you do more and more gigs, like, then you get to choose a bit more where you play. And then you end up in theatres before you know it. Like, especially after I start doing Father Ted and stuff like that, you end up working in theatres, which brings its own new set of challenges, by the way.
Like what?
Well, expectations are high,
Yeah.
Like, people are expecting an awful lot from you. They've seen you on the telly now,
Showing up,
and
you have to make me laugh now.
yeah, absolutely. And you mightn't be quite ready for the big step up,
So what is the peak of your stand-up career then? Like, your favourite moment?
Because you've done a lot of tours in America and all, haven't you?
Yeah. I have. I remember, like, I mean, this. I remember being introduced, like, at the Montreal Festival, being introduced by William Shatner
From Star Trek.
From Star Trek.
Yeah.
On stage to 3,000 people. But like, you know, he got my name wrong. And he said I was from England. So,
Bollox, huh?
but you know, look, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, every gig is very enjoyable. You know, like I always enjoy the process of it. I love the writing of it. I love the, you know, trying it out in the international bar. I love going on the road, and you know, just so I mean, highlights. It's hard to say. You know, also you must remember I am from Monaghan, so like the pleasure only lasts for a minute or two after the gig.
You do the wink and you're done.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I
And
wanted to
then you
ask
start
as well.
worrying again. Oh Jesus, you know.
That's what I was going to ask. 'Cause you said you were very shy and you didn't like all this growing up. Did that ever like feed into your stand up? Did you ever like be dreading it, like Bollox has to go on stage now, and fuck, I don't want to go out there, kind of thing?
Well, like I always think you kind of use whatever you have. So you use your energy. So if your thing like is a low energy thing, and times it is low energy, and it's more character based sometimes. Like it certainly was in the earlier days. It was more like the Dougal character that I later played. So that was kind of my stand up persona for a little while. You know, it was kind of like very mannered, very stylized. You know, very kind of like character based. You know, kind of what's going on sort of thing. And but over time that becomes a bit different. You know, you get more confidence and you believe in yourself more. You also have more confidence in your own opinions about the world and about things generally. So you kind of feel braver. But that takes time. Like it took me a lot of time. It doesn't take everyone.
So you don't get nervous anymore?
I wouldn't say I
Like
get nervous anymore. Like you'd still have the doubts.
Yeah.
But you just get up there and do it. You know.
You've done enough of it.
But yeah. But you know, it's funny. Like shyness is, you know, like I don't know. You know, I love quiet people. You know, I love like noisy people as well. But quiet people have a lot to offer too. You know, and they're not always given the credit for it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, there's all sorts of ways to skin a cat. You know, and like, I don't know. So you use that a bit. Like, there's a big difference between standing in front of 1,000 people on stage and being in a room with 7 people. And you see people, and I know a lot of performers who are cripplingly shy. Like they wouldn't talk to you in a room, but no problem getting up in front of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Because you put a suit of armor on you when you do that.
Yeah.
Like whereas you walk into a room, like I remember, like I used to be quite. I would have suffered from, like, I suppose, and it's only looking back now that I know these terms, like social anxiety, for example. So you'd be like, I remember, you know, there'd be days I wouldn't leave the house for days. That would have happened, you know, like growing up, unless I had to be in a certain place at a certain time. But if it was just like, you know, we're all meeting in the Palace Bar or something, like, you know, you'd be almost there. You'd walk into town, you'd almost be there, and you turn around and go home.
Mad.
Because you just wouldn't know who was going to be there.
And they get the better of you, kind of thing.
Get the better of you, and it'd be all in your own head.
Yeah.
Like nobody would have any problem with you. Everyone loved me.
Yeah.
But no, but you know what I mean? Like you just get into your head that I'm not wanted here, or you know, like, so it's funny. But then when you step out on stage, it's almost like someone injects you with a magic serum. You know, where you just, like, it's a jolt of adrenaline, like that just transforms you as a human being.
It's probably just like a reassurance from the crowd. You know what I mean? You're probably down to yourself, and then you get out there, you hear all these people cheering for you, like, fuck no, actually, these want me here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Or probably overshadows then the doubt that you had, like, am I wanted here? Kind of who's here? Who's looking at me?
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, actually, I'm supposed to be here. These are here for me.
Yeah, but it's also like your built-in processes. You hear athletes talking about their processes.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it was never that scientific with comedians. Like, you don't have life coaches, and you don't have a coach, and you don't have like like one of those kind of what do you call those experts who, you know, psychiatrists, like, you know, sports psychologists and things like that. But it's a similar thing. You have your processes. So as long as you follow your processes, do you know what I mean? You know,
Second nature.
it's second nature. It's in your bones.
Yeah.
So that timing thing, and, you know, like, you know, you have your opening lines that always work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as you say those opening lines, the audience start laughing and you start relaxing, and
they start relaxing.
they
They're
start
off to the
relaxing.
races
Absolutely.
then,
And then but as I said, that wouldn't be a problem so much now. Like although, like, who knows, the last 2 years has just disrupted everything, you know, possibly terminally. I don't know, but you know, certainly in the last tour I did a big tour 2019, like up to March 2020, up to the time the pandemic started, and it was the most enjoyable tour of my life. You know, I loved it. I don't know what it was. Definitely something changed with me over the years.
Right, Ardal, I know. I know you obviously do get it.
Enough about me.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to. We kind of do have to touch on the TED stuff because this is something that we grew up on. It's just constantly on the telly, so like it's hard to get away from it. And obviously, you obviously must find it fucking very hard to get away from it as well.
I suppose I do. Yeah, I do insofar as like I loved it, and I'm so like I can't, you know, I like to this day I can't believe that I was in it and in something that was so popular and that still endures to this day. So, you know, like I wouldn't, you know, it was an amazing experience to be part of, but it was a very short part of my life.
Yeah,
when you think about it, I was only in it for 3 short seasons. Like we did 6 episodes, then we did 10, then we did 8, and then we did a Christmas special. So 25 episodes in total over the space of about 3 years. So that was my, like, you know, absolute commitment to that at the time. And so, like, I actually don't mind talking about it at all. I know there are a lot of people who are associated with one particular character who hate talking about it because it's all they're associated with. But I hope that I've done enough in my life in other ways to, you know, distance myself from that a bit as well.
Yeah.
Now, not in everyone's minds. Obviously, a lot of people who are listening to this probably, if they know me at all, they know me for that.
Yeah.
It's the Dougal fella.
For the Dougal fella. And, you know, so like I can't escape it. Like I can't.
Yeah.
And there was times when I did get a bit narky about it. Like I did try and walk away from it. Like, you know, I'm not just Dougal. You know, I'm a real human being. You know, and I suppose like from the point of view of like, you know, career and everything and work-wise, like as soon as that was over,
that was it.
That was it in terms of like income and everything, you know, and it was my first proper paying job, by the way. And then, but like the next day you're literally going to your next job, you know, your next gig, your next, where do I have to be tonight? Getting up in the morning going, what do I do? And trying to write jokes and trying to write other stuff, trying to write novels and trying to write, you know, TV stuff. And
It's just nearly a stepping stone.
Yeah,
in the right direction.
It was like, I mean, you know, it definitely opened doors. There's no question about it. And then you end up doing other TV jobs and stuff like that. But it's like, because it's so popular, like, and that's something you just can't legislate for. You don't know what shows are going to work and what aren't. You know, even if you're enjoying it at the time and everything seems to be going very well. Like I've been in loads of shows that had a lot of promise, but they just didn't take off. You know, and it's not to say those jobs are just as enjoyable because it's the process, it's the hanging around during the day, it's the working out the problems, it's, you know, trying to come up with a better line, it's all those things. That's the real pleasure for the actors involved.
Yeah,
you know. So
I have a bit of news for you.
Yeah.
It's a little secret I'm going to let you in on. I only ever watched my first episode of Father Ted today.
You're joking.
Now, I know who Dougal is, I know who Ardal O'Hanlon is, but I'd never sat down and watched an episode of Father Ted before.
So,
ever.
before, when you went out to get the water earlier, I told you Terence hasn't seen many films or anything like that, and he never seen Father Ted either.
That's incredible.
Now, obviously, the lads is like, you have to watch Father Ted. Now, obviously, I know who Dougal is, who Father Ted is, but I'd never sat down and watched an episode until today. And I watched, what episodes did I watch?
What episodes would you recommend? If you were to, like, someone in Terrence's shows, Ardal, and you would say, right, look, I was on this show, right, and it was brilliant. You have to sell it to him, give him 3 episodes, what would you pick?
And before you do that, has anybody ever said to you that they haven't watched an episode of Father Ted?
Yeah, no, I have. First of all, I would never assume that anyone has, so I don't hold it against you, Terence, not for a moment.
But it's not fine. It's nothing personal in any way. You know what I mean?
No, I know. No, I know. Like,
what did he say, bastard?
No, I wouldn't. I would never assume. Like, people have said it to me before, and people like will make a point. People will make a point of telling you how much they hate it as well.
Fuck off.
You know, like
Negative Nancy's.
Oh God, yeah. I remember. It wasn't actually a Catholic priest, but it was a Protestant vicar came up to me one day in London, and he pinned me up against the wall, and he said, "You think that's funny, isn't it? Mocking the clergy like that." And you know, and he like veins popping out of his neck at the time, and he was going to punch me. He was really, really angry. He was just saying, you any idea the work we do and people ridiculing us because of you, and like, rightly so. The clergy do great work. I have no problem with that. I'm huge admiration for most of the clergy. They do great work in terms of comforting the bereaved and looking after the sick and giving people spiritual guidance and all those things. Like, absolutely, I'm all totally for it. Like, but I mean, this guy just had a real problem with our show, like, because we were
going to say, if there was anybody that could have a chip in their shoulder or a problem with the show, it would be them.
Yeah, it would be. But most of them like it. Like, any priest I've met, most of the priests I've met, like, do kind of like it because.
They still have humour, they have emotions.
Of course they have. And they also recognise that it was true.
Yeah.
They know all the characters who come in and out of it. Anyway, to answer the question, in terms of like good episodes to recommend, what would you recommend?
Top 3, right?
Right now, I want the youth to recommend it because he's told me the recommendations.
Yeah.
And I've watched them, and he said to me, I bet you Ardal would recommend this. So what would be your recommendations?
I think the first one I'd recommend would be, did you ever see the film Speed?
Got it.
Oh, is that Speed 3?
Speed 3, yeah.
Speed 3, yeah.
Right.
He's never seen, but you actually never have seen the film Speed, so you don't know why that episode was funny.
But you
Yeah,
probably
I
wouldn't
knew
have...
it was fucking gas.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't get, like...
Was that referencing things in there?
Well,
Why
in
did
the
I find them funny?
in
I'd break
the-
me Bollox laugh.
in the film Speed, right, it's set in LA. Is it LA?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is in it. He's a copper. There's a fellow who puts a bomb on the bus, and when the bomb goes over 50 miles an hour, it's activated. And if it goes below 50 miles an
I
hour...
did see that film before.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the whole point. And then there was another one with a boat. There was another one with a boat which was shy, and then this was obviously Speed 3 then, with
Right.
the milk float.
Yeah.
So that was one I said that.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good episode.
Yeah, brilliant episode.
And I think Dougal had a fair bit to do in that
Yeah,
as well. So
I think
suppose
that's your most camera time in that one.
Yeah, I think so. Probably is actually. Yeah. So I do love that one. I love the Euro song as well,
Yeah, I actually didn't say that one.
but it's actually mainly because of the little video.
Yeah, My Lovely Horse.
Yeah, My Lovely Horse video. Like, I
Yeah.
just love that video, the way it's put together. And what else did you recommend?
The Over 75 Suicide.
I probably wouldn't have picked that because it's part of a double episode.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see the forfeit then. It's the next
class.
episode.
It's absolutely class. I swear to God.
But it's very hard to pick one. It'd be like picking one of your favorite children. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I love bits of loads of them, and sometimes I'm surprised. Like, I don't watch it. I never sit down to watch it, but I often see my family sitting down to watch it. And
What's it like for your kids? Do you ever like walk in, your kids be watching, and you be like, oh, like
I
they
know.
probably see you on the telly, but you're not been this man their whole lives, and they're watching this fella on the telly, and they're like, who's he?
I know, yeah, it's really odd. Like they're all into their comedy now, like really into it. So I'm glad they do still like Father Ted. But it is very odd watching it. So sometimes I'll stand at the door and just kind of have a look in and watch 5 or 10 minutes, and I won't remember it. Like I don't actually. There are some little lines and things I don't remember. I'm always embarrassed by myself in it. Like I was a really bad actor in those days and overacting.
Yeah.
It's-
But I think that was added to it though, didn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
but it
was
annoys
all
me. It
the
annoys me
satire.
watching back now. Like with all I've learned since and everything, and I watch that and I'm laughing in a lot of scenes. Like I'm fucking laughing in it. At the ludicrousness of it all.
We talk about that. We look back on podcasts we've done and we cringe and we like, oh fuck, I can't believe we said that. So I think we all just do that in each other, but somebody else from the outside doesn't see that.
Yeah.
But most things I do, I wouldn't watch. Like I just wouldn't watch it, or I wouldn't listen back to it, or anything. Like I'd be too. I just have this thing. I tend to dwell on the negatives. I don't look at the 95% of it, which is great, or which is
I'm very similar.
grand. I'm just thinking of the fucking. Why did I say that?
Yeah.
Or that is. It could have done it better. Exactly. And likewise. So it's almost like a superstition at this stage. I just don't watch things back now.
But would you find yourself laughing at it because you found it funny? And you're like, Jesus.
Well, Father Ted was an exception insofar as, like, I do remember when, like, I knew the writers very well. They were Irish guys in London, Arthur Matthews Gremlin, and I knew them quite well, like, even before they wrote Father Ted. And I remember when they had all 6 of the first series together, like, they invited us around to their flat, and, we watched it, and I just remember thinking, this is hilarious. And I didn't see myself in it. So it was the only thing I've ever done where I didn't actually see myself. Probably because it's the first thing I ever did.
Yeah.
So the novelty of it all. and it was larger than life as well, and everything else, and you know,
Very controversial as well at the time, wasn't it? They got torn down. Did they not pitch that to Irish broadcasters? And they
I
wouldn't
don't
touch
like.
it?
I honestly don't think they did. Like that is a myth.
Oh, is it, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I've been in so many taxis where the taxi driver insists that it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Those writers were living in England for years.
Yeah.
They were well established comedy writers in England, and so they were pitching everything they had to English TV.
And
To be honest with you, by then,
the way you were a stand-up comedian, did you interpret some of your comedy into that, or was this just all
kind of
them?
like I think the reason they came to me, like, so I remember one time they came to a show that I was doing, and they said, you know, we're writing this thing, and we think that one of the characters will suit you. And I think that was the reason they said that was because of my style of comedy in those days. So.
Yeah.
So it was kind of Douglish what I was doing. It was pretending to be much more innocent than I am, and it was sort of like saying quite hard-hitting things, but like with this mask of innocence. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
So, and I think they liked that sort of. It was kind of like kind of wooden movements, you know, kind of like
Yeah.
mechanical, and
Typical Monaghan man.
kind of awkward, kind of yeah. It's very hard to say. Like it's very hard to say. So then I just went for the audition for, like, I had to go for an audition. You know, you had to jump through the hoops, and there was various executives there, and the writers were there, and I remember doing the audition, and the only people laughing were the two writers, and everyone else is just looking at me like very po-faced, you know.
Yeah. That's all. That's the only people you need to laugh.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
audition
managed to
involved.
convince the producers and everyone else to select me. So for that, I am grateful. And then they paired me with Dermot Morgan, who played Father Ted, and we did another audition together where we had to sort of just do another few scenes. That was a few weeks later, and then a few weeks later, they told me that I had the part. So, you
Did
know,
you have any idea how big it'd be?
no, not in the
Nobody ever
slightest.
does, don't you know? Like,
You don't have a clue. There's no magic formula, you know. You just don't have a clue.
Some things take off, some things don't.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe it was the fact that it was one of those like taboo things, like you don't fucking talk about what you are talking about?
Yeah, I know. Like, but you see, I always thought it had a certain innocence to it. Like certainly Ireland was ripe for it. There's no, and it took off in Ireland. The first series, it didn't really take off.
Right.
Like there was terrible reviews the first series, apart from one or two. People thought it was undermining Ireland and the Irish, and it was perpetuating old stereotypes about the Irish, like the stupid priest, the drunken priest, you know, the
abusive couple,
abusive
domestic
couple,
violence,
the over enthusiastic housekeeper,
Yeah.
you know, like it was various stereotypes. But like, you know, the writers were always very clear about this, that they were playing with stereotypes,
Yeah,
Right.
and they were absolutely smashing the stereotypes.
yeah. Well, they got the Dublin one down, Father Damo.
Father Dougal.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? That was on the
Yeah, no, that
nail
was
on the
great.
head.
And that was another big attraction for me of doing it, was like a lot of my friends ended up
Yeah.
playing these guest roles in it.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians, Jason Byrne, Barry
Tommy.
Murphy, Kevin Goldie, Tommy Tiernan, absolutely, Joe Rooney and Patrick McDonnell, all these
Yeah.
people coming in doing guest roles, and so they'd be with us for a week. We shot a small bit of it down in County Clare, but most of it we shot in London, you know, in the studio in London. So it was really exciting times.
Yeah, oh, at least it was acting the bollocks.
Acting the Bollox, Irish people abroad on
Yeah.
tour, you know,
Yeah.
on holidays. Like, it was
Recipe
brilliant. And
for
then you'd have
disaster.
legends like Brendan Grace coming in to do a role who'd never really acted before. And like, you know, someone like him who we would have looked up to growing up. Like, you know, you asked me about my childhood earlier. The only comedy I was ever exposed to in my childhood was Brendan Grace albums,
Yeah,
Bottler and stuff like
yeah.
that. You
That's
know?
my man. That still watch that to this day,
Yeah.
and they still be crying laughing at
Well,
it.
it's funny. Like, it was like he doesn't get the credit he deserves in terms of like the influence he would have had on my generation of comedians.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he would have been regarded as more old fashioned, more traditional joke telling and so on.
Yeah.
But like when we were growing up, it was the only thing going, you know. It was, and we thought it was hilarious. So so it was really like all that coming full circle with him in it was incredible. Like, I was a bit nervous around him, you know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
And
He is a big fella, though, wasn't he? As well?
he's a big fella, yeah. And he would have been a bit nervous because he'd never really acted before.
Yeah.
But he was brilliant in it.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Oh, he's
he was
fantastic,
superb, menacing.
Yeah,
And then even people like Frank Kelly, like I would have grown up watching him.
But he was like a well-acclaimed actor as well.
He was a well-acclaimed
which
actor,
is
but
madness.
he was also like in a satirical show that we used to watch. We didn't watch much telly growing up.
Yeah.
The telly was like evil, and we weren't really encouraged to watch television as kids. But one thing we were allowed to watch was what was it called? Hall's Pictorial Weekly. It was a satirical show. Because it was about politics, and my father was involved in politics, so we were allowed to watch this show, which was slagging off the politicians.
Yeah.
And Frank Kelly was one of the main men in that. So it's amazing how all that came full circle, you know?
Yeah. That's mad. So, right, we keep going off on tangents, and we keep saying, right, we'll start with this, and then we'll just go off on a mad one. So, Speed 3 is the episode, then the Eurovision Song for Europe.
Song for Europe,
And then what was your third one?
I didn't have a third one yet. I'm just trying to think of them all. It's very hard to remember. Oh God, the one with the raffle.
Yeah, that's your one. Yeah,
You said to me to watch that.
yeah, that's the one. But I think that's your favourite one, wasn't it? Because the scene that you were talking about.
With the hammer?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hilarious. So when he was telling me to watch Father Ted, because obviously I knew of you, about you and all, but I never actually sat down and watched it. And I was thinking, this is going to be before my time. Like, I'm not going to find
It's
this
not.
funny.
He didn't think it's gonna hold up. Like,
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, it's fucking
know.
2022 now. It's
It's over 25 years ago.
Yeah. But when I watched the Ardal, I found myself pissing myself laughing for
brilliant.
most of it. Do you know what I mean? But especially that bit with the hammer, with the dent in the car. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I swear to God, it's hilarious.
I know. That's good. Like, I'm glad it stands up. I mean, you know, people are discovering it all the time still, which is great, you know.
Well, it wasn't by choice. I hadn't got a personal problem with doing Father. I said, we
You're
didn't have a
forced to
telly in
watch
the
it.
cafe either, yeah. We don't tellies.
But like, it does, you know, like, I wouldn't make any great claims for anything I've ever done or anything like that. I was lucky to be in that. It was a great break, and it was great to be in it. But you know,
you're one of the most iconic characters that's ever been on the telly.
Well,
you know?
it does give comfort to people. Like, you know, comedy, you know, it gives small comfort to people from time to time. So like
a little escape. Yeah.
So
my little contribution to mankind.
have you got anything coming out now?
I have a few. Well, not really. I mean, Jesus. There's this show on Channel 4 called Taskmaster. Have you ever heard of that?
Can't say I have.
No, it's kind of like it's
like a game show, isn't it?
it's like a game show, but you're in it for the series. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, right.
So it's a very enjoyable thing to do. I did it earlier this year, so it's coming out in March, and it's 10 weeks. It's me and 4 others, so there's 5 of us all together. One of them is Chris Ramsey, who does a big podcast in England. Yeah. And me, and there's a few others, Bridget Christie, Judy Love, who was in Strictly Come Dancing, and Sophie Duker. So there's 5 of us, and it's host. Do you know Greg Davis?
The
big
comedian,
tall guy,
the man now, the In-Betweeners. He was the principal in the In-Betweeners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So he presents it, and Alex Horn is his sidekick, and they're really funny. And they give you tasks. So I spent half the summer doing all these mad tasks.
Like what?
Like, they'd get you to go show us the best photograph on your phone. So you'd show them a photograph on your phone. Now you've got 20 minutes to recreate that.
Yeah.
And you know, but like I can't really remember them, but madder than that. So like about 30, 40 different tasks that are spread over the and like it's just ridiculous and humiliating.
Yeah.
But the best fun I ever had in my life, where like, because I'm a little bit uptight by nature, you know, and you totally have to let go for this because you don't know what's hitting you. You go in every day and you go, okay, what have you got for me? And they give you this card with a task on it. You have to go and do it. One was to learn Swedish in 15 minutes and have a conversation with a Swedish man.
Going through an IKEA catalogue there, hoping for the best.
Yeah. You know, and geez, I can't remember them all. Recreate a famous moment from history with using only 2 traffic cones. You know, but like you're in a house, so there is a Taskmaster house, and there's loads of stuff to use.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a kind of one of those kind of cult shows in England, if you like. And everyone does it. Like, all the comedians do it.
Yeah.
Because you're out of your comfort zone. So that's coming out in March. That's sort of like the last sort of fairly big thing I did. The other sort of big thing I did over the last few years was wrote a novel. My second novel, actually. First novel was about 20 years ago or more. And so I've written this other novel, and that's coming out in May. So I'm just putting the very last touches on that now.
And
That's
what's
been
it called?
published by HarperCollins. It's Brouhaha, it's called. So it's kind of like a crime thriller set in the border region, sort of well after the Troubles, kind of around the time of the peace process. And it's a sort of it's got a lot of elements of the crime fiction sort of thing in it.
And now I want to get down to my favourite part. You're a big fan of football.
Love football.
Yeah. Who do you follow?
I'm a Leeds fan.
So you don't love football then?
Well, I like the way Leeds tried to play football, but no, I've always loved soccer. It's like my big passion, to this day.
Yeah. And you done a show with that, didn't you? Going around.
Yeah. That was probably the best show. Like the most enjoyable show I ever did was going around trying to explain the rivalries in football, geographical rivalries, like why the two teams in Rome, why you would pick one team over another. So go into the whole history of that. So it was like a travel show, but with football.
Football, yeah. A bit of hooliganism in it.
Yeah, and history and culture. I was trying to avoid the hooliganism. You couldn't avoid it because in any rivalry that you're going to get the hooligan element.
Yeah.
Like we were in one in Poland, a really kind of it was grisly. Like, I mean, there was more police than people at the match, but you really learn so much about a place through the football, through the little subtleties,
But this is what I was saying to Taryn. So we were talking before this, and I was due to go to the United and Brighton game, which was called off, and then you were due to go to Liverpool and Leeds, which was called off a few days later. I mean, I'm going through like the difference between Manchester and Liverpool, and just how like these places, more Manchester than Liverpool, so bleak, and there's just nothing happening. And I was in Newcastle as well a few weeks before that. And it's just like there's nothing going on in these places. Yeah. These people like literally eat, sleep, and breathe football. If you take the football away, the place just collapse.
Oh, it's massive. But you even know that from playing football. Like I played for a team called Orwell FC over in Milltown there, and you play every weekend, and you realise just how important that is. For some people, it's the absolute focal point of their week.
Yeah.
It's what it's all about. You let out all that aggression that you can't let out at home, or you shouldn't let out at home.
Yeah.
Or at work, you could be having trouble at work. You could have financial difficulties. Anything could be going on in your life. But for that hour and a half and the few hours afterwards, you just pour everything into it.
Yeah.
And you can be whoever you want to be out there in the field. And, literally you forget about everything else but getting the ball into that net and stopping the ball going into that net. And that's all you need to worry about for that hour and a half or 2 hours. So, when I'm trying to explain football to Philistines who don't know anything about football or don't appreciate it or don't know why people would invest so much time and money and energy and effort into it. Like, it's pure escapism, and it's a very healthy form of escapism. So I love it. I'm talking about it. I'm watching it. Obviously, it's bloated now, and there's far too much money sloshing around, and it's corrupt, and, it can be horrible. But, you got to invest in something. Like, you got to believe in something.
Yeah.
You got to adopt a tribe. You got to feel. So it's the belonging thing that you're talking about. In these. So where you may not have much else going on in your life, you have that belonging.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you.
Yeah. Are Leeds going down?
There's no need to bring up subjects like this. We were getting on perfectly well there for the last hour and a half.
Honest question. Go with your head over your heart. Do you think he's going down?
I'm very worried.
Right.
I'm genuinely worried about that. Yeah. I mean, I think the project has come off the rails.
Yeah.
Because they've had a few injuries, to be fair.
Yeah, but we don't have a squad to cover the injuries, so that's the issue. But they have entertained a lot of people. They've excited a lot of people over the last few years. They didn't surprise anyone. A Leeds fan last year weren't surprised by how well they played and how they surprised a lot of teams. We weren't surprised by that. But this year, it was clear that it was going to be very hard to replicate that.
He's found out, though, I thought, this year.
Kind of found out, yeah.
Everyone knows how to play against us now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's too naive. There's no question about it. It's naive the way they play. And
it's exciting at the end of the day.
It's exciting, but unless you've got your 11 best players who know what to do, who know the system and they're very fit and they're at it, then it's going to fall apart.
It's exciting for a neutral, I should say.
Yeah, I don't buy this whole, Leeds had to lose in the last 3 games and they've conceded 8 and scored 2. But it was exciting. But they're also going to get relegated.
I think Leeds fans are all bored with that as well. Like at this stage, they're just worried.
Getting credit for playing football.
Yeah. And the guy Bielsa is a legend and he is great, and all the other, I find it the way the other managers, they kind of patronise him a bit.
Yeah.
They all go, oh, he's great and he's a guru and, you know, we love him, Guardiola, and everyone loves him and they all have such lovely things to say about him. But it's patronising at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, he's like some old granddad that they're patting on the back.
Sitting on his bucket and all,
Yeah.
Relaxed,
you know, and he is a philosopher, but I don't know.
Should he be gone?
I wouldn't go that far because...
At the end of the season, if he's go down? Or would you give him a season in the Championship?
I'd love to see, like, if he just brings in a few players and definitely just see if he can turn it around.
He's look a bit lost without Bamford.
Without
Phillips.
Phillips, absolutely. And then there's a few kind of fellas who are huffing and puffing and they're doing their best, but they're not quality. They're not Premiership quality.
Yeah.
And he has been very unlucky with the central defence. He's never had like a fit first choice pairing in the centre of defence.
I suppose the good thing is he's had a few games called off because of COVID, so they're in the bank. Yeah. We were talking before we start recording, and I asked you, do you get noticed much on the street?
I suppose I do. Like I mean, not over the llast few years with the masks and everything.
It's a gift.
It's the best thing about the pandemic. And like because I'm quite beardy a lot of the time. Not today because I made a big effort for you.
For the guys. Yeah, going to be on the cameras and all.
So and I slouch a lot and I skulk in the shadows. So I get away with it a lot of the time. But I suppose if you're out and about, you do get a lot of attention, or in a pub maybe or something, and someone spots you, and then other people come over, even if they don't know you, like they kind of go, "Oh, why are they over talking to him? So we better go over and talk to him."
Yeah. It must be a big deal, this fella.
So it can be a bit obtrusive, but most people are really friendly about it. Like, and mostly it's complimentary, and it's not really a hassle. But I do remember one time, like when the kids were smaller, and when I was probably a tetchier human being, when you've got small kids around the place and you're in an airport. I remember being in the airport one day, and 7 a.m, and this stag party who were already on their second or third pint kind of came over to me, and they were just kind of going, "Hey, you're that guy from Father Ted, yeah." And I just, I don't know, I just pretended to be French. And like, I don't really speak French or anything, but I just start speaking to the kids in my pidgin French, allez, voulez-vous mange le déjeuner? And they're looking at me kind of going, "Oh, is he French? Is he? I'm pretty sure he's Dougal." And then, they kept talking to me and I kept going, je ne parle pas anglais. And they're kind of looking at me going, "You fucking..." I don't think they bought it for a second, but I stuck to my guns. I was French.
You were committed.
And they walked away. But like, I rarely had to take that drastic action. But it's never really a hassle. But like, you don't like the definite thing is, like, I know you guys are only doing this for the fame and everything else, but like,
what else did you do?
Well, I can say with my hand on my heart, like, you don't go into this to be famous, or if you do, like, you're asking for trouble. You know what I mean?
You don't go very far, and you'll be found out pretty quick. I think.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's a novelty at first, the attention, but ultimately it becomes very intrusive. Like the thing I hate most, as I'm sure you're finding now, as the podcast goes from strength to strength, is the scrutiny gets greater and greater.
Yeah, it was like that for a while. I think we kind of rode that wave, didn't we? Kind of got over that one.
It was a little bump for a week or two, yeah.
Well, I found the hardest part wasn't so much the attention you get in the street, it was the attention you get from the press.
Yeah, well, I suppose nowadays what we get is attention you get from fake accounts online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. But I remember, I remember one time, I mean, there was a spate of it over a period of about 3 or 4 years, and this actually made me become quite introverted after a while. And that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't have done an awful lot of podcasts over the years, or even try to avoid a lot of press and stuff, and even TV appearances. Like, which you're shooting yourself in the foot as a comedian, actor, performer, whatever. But it was like there was 3 or 4 incidents. So the first one was I had done a very jokey questionnaire in a woman's magazine. And I was asked a cheeky question, like, "Do you ever do drugs?" Which you can't answer. You can't give a straight answer to that question if you're in the public eye, because it's going to come back to bite you in the hole, right? And and I am like an anti-drugs person, but I'm a human being who has, maybe experimented once or twice, but like certainly never promoted drugs or like, you know, it wouldn't be in any way a part of my life, you know. And I made some joke about like, and it was kind of to shut the journalist up a bit. I said, "Oh yeah, you know, yeah, everyone should do E. You should give E to your kids or something like that."
Yeah.
So it was a very flippant remark, very stupid remark.
But it's a bit of crack, though.
It was in the
probably took too
context.
literal, was it?
It was in the context of a crack interview. But now, so the magazine comes out. I never read it. I don't know who read it. But 3 months later, the front page of the Irish Daily Star, literally the front page. I'm not making this
I
up.
called them out.
What?
I called them out.
Yeah.
The Irish Daily
The
Star.
Irish Daily Star
Instead.
had Father Ted Star drug shame in huge letters, and a picture of me at my most stupid expression. Father Ted Star drug shame. Front page headlines based on a jokey remark I made 3 months later. Now, you can argue that the joke was a stupid joke and a crass joke and a joke that I would be very embarrassed about now today. But that's that's how it happens. And you can't believe it's happening to you. You read this every day. You read stuff about so-called celebrities. And you go, you know. But like, when it happens to you, it is shocking. And you're so, I don't know, you go into a little shell. You can't believe it's happening to you. It's almost like it's happening to another person. And then we were actually filming Father Ted at the time. We were doing, I think it might have been the 3rd series or something. And journalists were camped outside the hotel. So I had to go and do scenes, like ferried in and out in a car.
Making
They
a
were
mountain out of a molehill
doorstepping
kind of
my
thing.
wife and child. Like, it was just shocking. So that's a real slap in the face. That really shuts you up for a while. Like, I wouldn't do an interview for a couple of years after that. And like, there was another one around the same time, which was almost worse in some ways. There was a young fella from Monaghan who was in jail in England, accused of the Hyde Park bombing, which was a big terrorist event in London many years ago. And he had been sent to jail, wrongfully convicted. And he was sent to jail for, I think, 17 years. And everyone knew he didn't do it. And there was a benefit for him in the Jazz Cafe in London, in Camden. And I was on the bill. So were loads of English comedians. I was the only Irish comedian on the bill. There was Eddie Izzard, there was Jeremy Hardy, brilliant English comedians. Rob Newman at the time, he was really big at the time. There was that band, you know, the theme tune to The Sopranos, the Alabama 3. They were on the bill. Then you had some members of the Birmingham Six making speeches as well, who had just been released or been released a few years previously. So it was a big event to raise money for this fella's appeal.
Yeah.
And because he hadn't done it. Now, I would be careful about these things. Like, although I would be nationalistically minded and Republican minded, I would be very a man of, you know, only by peaceful means and so on. Constitutional nationalist, I would call myself. So I was really careful about this, you know, haven't been bitten before. Like, could this come back to haunt me in any way? So I made my own inquiries through my father and other people. Like, you know, could you find out, is there any way that this guy could have done that? And everything came back. IRA said no, he wasn't, never a member of our organisation. Politicians in England and Ireland were very okay with it. Like, it's, you know, it's above board. This is a guy who's wrongfully convicted, and this money is for his appeal. So, you know, very happy to do the gig, as you would do all benefits. One of the big privileges of being a comedian or being in the public eye is that you're able to do these benefits for people. You know, whatever the charity is. Absolutely. So delighted to do the gig. Gig went really well. A few days later, the News of the World, which was the big tabloid in England at the time, had a big headline. Father Dougal supports IRA bomber who did this. Picture of me looking gormless and a dead horse. You know, there was people killed in the incident as well, but there were horses killed, so the English didn't like that. So, like that, and that leaves you very exposed. You just feel terrible, you know. Like, how do you explain to people, I don't support IRA bombers. I support an innocent man, an innocent Irish man in a British prison. That's what I was supporting.
You shouldn't have to explain that.
You shouldn't have to explain that.
Big problem we have with papers and things like that. People believe every single
believe
thing they
everything
read as gospel.
And so I was on tour at the time. And so I was terrified coming out of venues at night. Is someone going to attack me? People had asked for the money back from some of the shows.
But you should never be put in that situation, especially by people with that sort of power to put your face on the front page of a paper. You should never be put under that sort of pressure and that sort of mental state to be thinking, oh, I need to be careful now coming out of this gig, or I need to be careful walking down this road.
I know.
That should never be a thing. Like,
I know.
Oh,
But
I
you
don't
grow
think-
up, like you learn, and you learn to be careful about what you say.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I still put my foot in it from time to time, but it's one of the reasons I wouldn't do social media. Like
Yeah.
this was before the age of social media, where people jump on every single thing you say.
Yeah.
Like now, you know, next week somebody will probably listen to this podcast and they'll pick a line or two out of it, and that'll become an article.
Yeah.
It's so easy,
You
isn't
know,
it?
it's so easy.
Yeah.
Like every interview I've ever done in the last few years, there's an article about it the next day, as if
Yeah.
I gave the interview,
There's an article about the article. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then an article about the article about the article.
Yeah. I suppose
Yeah.
the advantage of social media is it'll give you a platform to voice. No, actually, this is what happened in that interview, and
Yeah.
that can be put up instantly.
Yeah.
You know, you're not waiting for someone to reach out to you to say, actually, what do you think about
I
what
know,
happened?
but I don't
there?
want to spend my whole life justifying
No,
myself,
justifying,
explaining
no,
myself,
True, yeah.
answering back,
True.
you know, pushing back. Like it's a funny world we live in. The other one, I'll tell you, like there was a few of them, but there was one other one which is kind of like almost funny. But it was so I was doing this interview. I did a film in Scotland once, and I was interviewed by a Scottish newspaper about like, and they'd ask you about your family life, and I go, "Oh, I'm married to my childhood sweetheart," and all the rest. Yeah, oh yeah, are you? A lot of people would ask me about that because it's true. And I said, like jokingly, "Jeez, I can't tell you how often I tried to get away from her, but I couldn't. I was dragged back."
Yeah.
But it's such a common thing for
Such a
Irish man
common
to
thing for an
say.
Irish person
I
to
say that
say.
to you now, like, you know,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that's a
anyway,
throwaway comment to me. Like, I don't genuinely think, oh, Jesus Christ, he's not happy
oh,
with marriage.
and it was all about the tone and the
Yeah.
jokey throwaway tone. So anyway, like a few months later, and it's weeks later, like well, you've forgotten about the stupid interview you did to promote the film in Scotland. So it was the Evening Herald at the time. Headline: Ardal O'Hanlon tries to leave wife. Like you couldn't make it up.
Hilarious.
And we didn't know anything about it. My wife was in the butcher, and she's going, "Oh Jesus, he's trying to leave you."
Yeah.
You know. She's going, what are you on about? Oh, God, did you not see the Herald? Jeez, you'd wonder why he probably won't be there when you get home. I go, oh, Christ. So you read this and you go, they've just picked 3 or 4 lines out of it, making me out like the biggest tool alive.
Yeah.
That like, and it was as if I rang up the Evening Herald and go, listen, can I speak to a journalist? Like, my wife is really annoying me. I've got something I need to get off my chest here. Like, I've really tried to leave her and she's just not getting the message. Could you write something about that, please? Yeah, it's staggering. And this is what, so like, I try to live a very retiring life now,
Yeah.
you know. I do my jobs, whatever I'm asked to do. And I go home and I keep my head down.
That's why I wasn't shocked. I was a bit surprised because obviously, shout out to Willa. Willa set this up.
Yeah.
He said it to us one day. He goes, do you know who'd be brilliant? Ardal O'Hanlon. And I was like, well, he doesn't do much, Willa. And he's like, do you know what? He's a great bloke. Give him a text. And I was going to text it and I don't know what happened. But I completely forgot. And then you text Willa and said, I haven't heard from them lads. And I was like, Jesus Christ, he's actually reaching out to us.
Yeah.
He wants to do something. I was like, what's going on? And it was probably just that perception that's given across, you know.
Yeah.
You've been, once bitten, twice shy kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't do much. And then
Yeah.
when I did text you, and you were like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I was like, this is going to be a good bit of crack. And then I couldn't believe it either. I said it to the missus the other day. I was driving home. I was like, Ardal O'Hanlon's texting me that fucking coming on the podcast next week. This is madness. Like, madness.
No, I mean, like I get asked to do loads of podcasts, but I have to say, there's very few of them I do by choice. You know, it's just like, you know. But I think this is different. I think what you're doing is unique, and it's, you know, it's important. And
But that's the one thing that we pride ourselves of is we don't call this an interview. This is a chat.
Yeah.
You know, sitting here talking about believing. We went from God to pissing in the shower
yeah.
and everything
I
else
know,
in between. You know.
I know. But I know.
I really enjoyed it anyways.
Yeah,
I
it
thought it
was
was
good for a
great.
crack.
When you come in and said that you're kind of timid and shy, you had the burn in the ears off. Those are the
Not at
guts
all,
of 2
just
hours.
talking bollocks.
Bollocks. Ardal, that's all we're here for.
No, but I kind of like, and another reason why I don't do them is because you do end up like, and it's no disrespect to you or anyone else, is you do end up talking about the same things because
Yeah, of course.
you know, where you grew up, like
your
where you went
story.
to school, where your story, your life story, you know. So, you know, you do want to ration that as much as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to be on every week going, wait till you hear this again, you know, because my story is pretty boring. I mean, you know, I do very interesting jobs. I'm lucky enough to have had great jobs in my life, you know, but my actual day-to-day life is
I
pretty
thought it was interesting
routine,
to
you
hear
know.
how that, like, you became a product of your environment, like, and then you went from this timid, shy young fella to a stand-up comedian,
Which is total opposite.
like,
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You're an extrovert with introverted qualities, which is
Or vice
doesn't make
versa.
sense.
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There was
But
one thing,
I'm always skeptical about that anyway when I hear that, about like even using the word shyness or even using things like low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Or, like some of the people with the lowest self-esteem come across as having the highest self-esteem. So you never know.
Yeah.
And also, therefore, I even wonder about the terminology. Like, is it even useful? You know what I mean?
Have you got it mixed up? Like, what's going on?
Like what is going on? Like, I think we all have this light and shade in us, and we all have like our good moments and our bad moments and our dark moments and our light moments, and there's no shame in that, and there's no, you know, like it's you know, we're complicated creatures.
Yeah. No, who are you telling? And we're only getting onto the surface of it with this podcast, and the more and more we do it, the more and more people we're meeting, and you're just like, well, that was a wild one. Hopefully next week will be a nice, smooth sailing one, and then you have Jim Sheridan on here rapping Snoop Dogg and all. Like, you know,
Really?
Jim Sheridan just come in and just blasted out Snoop Dogg more. That was the case, no problem. And we're just like, what's happening here?
Blow us away.
Wow, fantastic.
I heard a little story, and I just want to know if you mind telling it. Is it true that you were filming on Father Ted and you didn't change the costume? You were still in the wardrobe dressed as a priest, and someone in a shop thought you were a priest and tried to give you free stuff.
Yeah, I was offered a pair of shoes.
Like, just
Yeah,
tell
so
us
we
what
were
happened there.
shooting. I think we were shooting in the town of Venice, and
In Clare?
In Clare,
Yeah,
and it would have been the Christmas special. Actually,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure this was the incident. My memory is very blurry, but we were shooting the Christmas special in, I think it was a big Dunn Stores in Clare. There's another one you should watch. The
Yeah,
priest
the
stuck in the,
Christmas special is brilliant.
in the lingerie section.
yeah.
So probably would have had like an hour for lunch or whatever. Or maybe I wasn't in a little bit that they were shooting. So I went out for a little walk around town. So you wouldn't really have time to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I wasn't deliberately going.
But it's not as if you're wanting around
gonna
dressed as a
pretend to be a
fucking
priest.
a knight in armour. You know what I mean? You're dressed
So I
as a
might be
priest.
wrong because that would have been third series. So people would have known me pretty well. So maybe it was during the first series, like, but it was still around there, somewhere around there. So I went for a walk around, do a bit of shopping. So I went into a shoe shop and I was looking at the shoes, and the fella came over to me and he went, "How are you, Father?" And I'm going, "Grand." And he said, "No, look, anything you like there, anything at all, just take it. It's on the house."
And did you?
I actually didn't. I mean, I just couldn't bring myself to go through with it.
No,
I should have.
It could have been a great story.
But I do. There was another story around that time. Like, do you remember the Father Stone episode
Yeah, brilliant episode.
where we were shooting like in a field?
Yeah.
And it was November, and it was like -5 degrees, and they added in extra rain. Like it was rain, and it was sleet, and it was snowing, and it was like the worst conditions, like imaginable in Ireland.
It's West Coast Ireland, though. Like,
West Coast Ireland, middle of the Burren, you know, very
Yeah.
bleak. Not even a tree like for miles
Yeah, no
around.
coverage,
So
yeah.
the idea was that the priests were playing golf with
in this like just big field, but like where you shouldn't be playing golf.
field full of rocks,
Yeah.
basically. So it was just rock, bare limestone rock. And the priest struck, one of the guest priests is struck by lightning.
Yeah,
That-
he
that's,
swings and he
that's
gets
the
struck by
scene.
light, and he's stuck in that position then.
yeah. So like they weren't sure if it was going to rain that day, so they brought in rain machines. So it was raining, but they also put on the rain machines. And it was freezing rain, and we were in bits. Like we were really, because you're never dressed for it. You know. So the rain and the snow, and your wellies are full of snow, and your clothes are absolutely soaked, and you're there for hour after hour, take after take after take. And we were about an hour from the hotel, and there was nothing around. So I went to a farmhouse, like, and I've never done anything like this before, and it might sound very entitled, but like I felt I had no choice. I really felt like I was dying. Like I felt like I will not make it back to the hotel. Like it's an hour's drive. I am now hypothermic, and I'm soaked through to the skin. So I went up to this farmhouse about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I knocked on the door, and I just said, "Listen, I'm really sorry about this, but could I have a bath?"
It's the true story.
I swear to God. I've never felt so But it's not that I even felt anything. I felt I had no choice. And they were having their dinner, and she looked at me. Now, she knew I wasn't a priest. She knew I was probably with the filming, probably didn't have any respect for what we were doing or anything like that. But she was a decent human being from County Clare who thought, this guy's dying, I better
Run the bath.
So she ran the bath, and I jumped in. And I got into some fresh clothes, and I survived to tell the story.
Oh, you're a fucking
Good old
legend.
bleeding West Coast hospitality.
Yeah,
Had you
yeah,
here, Ardal?
yeah.
Episode 56 of the Talking Bollox podcast. So we'll wrap her up. But before we go, don't forget to get onto the Go Loud app to guarantee that you'll get this podcast every Thursday at 7 p.m. when we go live. Ardal, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for coming into us.
very
We
much.
really
Thanks for
do
coming in.
appreciate
Cheers.
it. We'll wrap her up. Take us out, Keno.
Boom.
Subscribe to this podcast for free on the Go Loud app.
What you waiting for? Put your back in it. Just a little more. Throw your weight in it now. Tell your body you're ten. Walk it hard and long. When you finish that
The hip knocker.
song, go down.